Hey, Amy,
Yeah, Juan.
give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amie Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
What's up, party people? You are listening or watching Baseball Shangri-La. If you are listening to us on the audio portion of the of the show, please make sure you are subscribed to our podcast. Rate us, write us a review, help spread the word about the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us your comments. We love engaging with you. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Bluesky at Baseball Shangri-La. Okay, Amy, why are you laughing at me?
Oh, that was just every time now that you're in your new studio, we just get graced with just a different way that the show starts. And I'm always pleasantly surprised.
Oh, I thought you were laughing because I was trying to make sure that I didn't squeak when I did that.
Oh, so were you going for the more like machismo, like, I'm not going to squeak?
I was going for the more James Earl Jones, beautiful vocal cords there. I was trying to put some bass in my face,
Oh,
so
okay.
I wouldn't squeak. Amy, how are you?
I am excellent. How are you?
I am fantastic. So we got a lot to talk about. Now we are recording the show a little later in this week because, of course, we had the All Star festivities, which we had the Home Run Derby on Monday. We had the All Star game on Tuesday. So at the time we are recording this, it is Wednesday. So we're going to talk about the All Star game, but we're also going to talk about the end of the Dodgers season and how that first half of the season went. But before we go ahead and do that, Amy, do you have any comments that you want to address from the comments corner?
I mean, it was kind of more of our usual fodder. El Cerebro did mention Kershaw's 3,000th strikeout, just that it's the embodiment of Moneyball's. How can you not be romantic about baseball? And I agree. Like these are the moments that many of us, you watch it for the game, but like just being able to see some of that. So yeah.
And I want to give a shout out to the listeners who totally called me out for when I zone out whenever Amy's talking. So, yes, you're absolutely right, ladies and gentlemen. It is blah, 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 my line, blah, 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 my turn to talk. So, look, in my defense, sometimes we have a lot of updates, okay? And it's hard for me to keep up on all the updates. And yes, sometimes I may ask Amy a question that she already covered. And yes, Amy may totally answer in a sarcastic way, calling me out for the fact that you don't listen to anything I say on this show. So,
We can share the updates if you want to share them.
no, I just want to call out we have the best listeners, we have the best viewers. They don't miss anything on this show. So, yes, I do acknowledge that I had a faux pas there. I had a little brain fart. Also, to our dear supporter, Hilla, I do not hate fun or joy. I am just a grown ass man who does not like toys. I do not share in the same excitement in these bobbleheads. And, there was a time that I would get excited for the giveaways. I was a sucker for the hoodie giveaway.
What changed for you? Did you ever like the bobbleheads, or you were just like, I am anti bobblehead,
No,
anti fun?
I never liked the bobbleheads. I would go to games that they had the bobbleheads, and then I saw, at the time that I had this, Amy, I was single, and then I realized that this was not very attractive to invite women back to my apartment, and they saw all these toys on my dresser, and so my chances of getting laid were not.
Oh,
Let's say they took a hit there. So
that's your reasoning why you killed Joy? Because honestly, I mean, and again, I have a different support group, but like if you don't like my baseball, I'm gonna say baseball toys so that nobody takes it out of context. Like you're not the one for me.
yeah, I just maybe what I did is I made the mistake of putting them in my room.
So that
Maybe
they
I
could
should.
watch. Ew, that's creepy.
Wow, you totally took it there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're off to a great start. Can you tell this was the all-star break? No, maybe I should have left them in the living room. But also, what started happening was I had nowhere to store them. These things add up so much. I know we've talked about it earlier in the season, the number of giveaways that the Dodgers have, in particular, the number of bobblehead giveaways that they give. If you go to a lot of games, let me tell you, it adds up. Now, I know that
I will give you that. When I used to live in Northern California and they would have like a giveaway, like it was like, oh my God, it was gold. Like whatever I can get, yeah, I'm taking that back up and it's going in my home because I was also in enemy territory. As I got down here, when I first became a season ticket holder, I was like, oh my God, all the bobbleheads. And now I'm like, I have no room. We have to be selective now. So while I am not anti bobblehead joy, I am selective space in my home. So I do feel you on that.
yeah, I really, to begin with, I wasn't into them. But if you guys want a more, one in a reason that won't hurt your feelings or won't feel like I am attacking your joy, it's really storage. I mean, there's just no way. I have nowhere to keep them. Any other comments that you want to address for the comments corner?
No, we got some from just people that are going to be at the stadium. So if you guys end up that way in the next couple homestands, let me know. I have stickers on me usually, so I'll come say hey.
I did get a comment, but we'll address it during the show as it relates to one of the topics. So let's get the show started. And a pleasant good evening to you, Amy, wherever you may be. So let's go ahead and start the portion of the show where I tune out, and that's with updates. So, Amy, what do you have update wise for us?
Maybe I'll cut down on the transactions so you can focus at like.
No, I'm gonna do it better because I was secretly shamed. I was secretly shamed that I don't listen to my partner, which is usually not a good thing to do when you're doing a show that requires back and forth banter. So, blah blah blah, my line. But
Mwah,
anyways,
mwah, 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 mwah,
I
mwah,
digress. Go ahead, Amy. I am
mwah.
listening to you.
So I'll give you, you can tune out on the recalled, the options. Like it's a lot of the same stuff that we've been seeing. Really, the basis of it is just we've seen a lot of usage, a lot of turnover in the bullpen. So we're recalling people like Alexis Diaz. We're optioning Julian Fernandez, Julian. I don't know how his name is being pronounced, but he pitched on Monday when we were recording last week, and then we saw him go down Tuesday. So it's a lot more of the same optioning people. So Alexis Diaz got optioned the next day. We did end up outrighting CJ Alexander. So I believe we DFA'd him last time around. So he was outrighted to OKC. We traded right fielder Stuart Beroa to Milwaukee for cash. So we got some cash coming our way.
Straight
And
cash,
then,
homie.
right. And then we activated Tyler Glasnow from the 60-day IL. So activated. I'm just putting that in your brain right now, just in case that makes it through the fog.
Yes, yes. Thank you. I am aware of that one. I know
Um,
glass now is a very specific blind spot for me, but yes, go ahead.
Blake Trinan and Blake Snell have been on rehab assignment. So Blake Trinan was in Oklahoma City last week. Michael Kopech got transferred from the 15-day IL to the 60-day IL with that right knee inflammation. We kind of got a bit more on that. So he did have surgery to repair that torn meniscus on his right knee, but he is expected to be back before the end of the season. And then just, a little bit more more optioning of players, picking other players up. So Nick Nastrini has had moves made. Noah Davis was traded. He was DFA'd and then traded to the Twins. And then Blake Trinan and Blake Snell were both pitching last night. So while everybody else was participating in the All-Star game, they were in the Arizona Cactus League. Blake Snell went 3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 earned run, no walks, 7 strikeouts, no home runs, and he faced 12 batters. He has a 3 ERA. And then Blake Trinan only pitched an inning. He faced 4 batters, 1 hit, 1 run, 1 earned run, no walks, a strikeout, and a home run. So he's got a 9 ERA. But they're both getting some work in. So it's better than what we've been hearing over the last couple months, which is so and so hasn't even picked up a baseball or they're playing catch. We're actually seeing them on rehab assignments. So those are my big ones. Anything you'd like to
Uh,
pepper in?
and Tyler Glasnow got activated.
I think he did. Maybe, possibly from
Hi,
the 60-day IL.
hi, ladies and gentlemen. If you're playing along at home, God, we got a lot of games on this show, so it could
Hey,
be another game. Check out when
we are
Juan tunes out. So
we are making sure everybody is hydrated, unless you decide to punish your liver, and that's not on us.
there is one update that I want to put out there. It is a very quick update. I don't know how much time you want to spend on it. I'm only bringing it up because it was
Ready? Go.
it was one of the comments that was sent my way on social media, and that is, did you notice, Amy, that Julio Urias is no longer suspended? He was activated.
Oh no, I forgot that was coming after the All-Star break, wasn't it?
Yes, he was. So, one of the messages that was sent to me by Rogelio, Rogelio was just okay. I'm gonna try to be respectful here, Rogelio. When so Rogelio said, "Hey Juan, wouldn't it be a good move for the Dodgers to bring back Julio Urias, especially with everything that is going on in Los Angeles in regards to the ice raids?" Rogelio, and again, I say this with all due respect. I don't think that would be a good idea, and especially in regards to the second part, in terms of the ice raids that are happening in LA. If you think the Dodgers are going to use bringing back Julio Urias as some sort of olive branch for their lack of action during this time, I just don't think that's the right way to do it. So I don't like when this first happened, the second time it happened, when he got suspended, and finally we had both. I think at this point, Amy said, "There's no way this guy." They literally removed the mural that was in the stadium. They removed every trace, anything that showed proof that Julio Urias was ever a part of the
And
Dodgers. I
they
don't.
painted over him in the other one. He got removed from
Yeah.
one, and I think didn't they paint over him with like Austin Barnes or Will Smith or
That is
something?
correct. They did. So I get it, Rogelio. There is some sort of tragedy to that story, but it's also self inflicted. So I don't know if it falls into the tragedy category. And I get it. Maybe there are some fans out there that are going to root for him, that are going to want another opportunity. I just don't think that opportunity will come with the Dodgers. Amy, what say you?
My opinion, and this is just my personal opinion, is heck no. As somebody who has had pieces of my life surrounded by domestic violence, like to me, he got more than one chance. He got two, and that's no. I don't. I even had a tough time watching the All Star game last night, and Araldis Chapman was in there in one of the later innings, and it is really hard for me to see him in there because while they do have some processes in place, these guys still get to play in this game after other people's lives are destroyed. And so for me, it's a no go. Like, no question for me.
It's interesting that you bring that up because the Araldus Chapman, I don't know how many years specifically it's been since he had his incident, but I feel it's been a significant amount of time. And you're still bringing that up. And I'm
A
sure.
significant amount of time because the victims of those things that happen, they don't get to just, oh well, it's 5 years. I guess I don't have that emotional abuse or that pain anymore. Like they still have to live with it. So the fact that like I agree some people should have second chances. He can have a second chance in life elsewhere. It doesn't necessarily need to be rewarded in the MLB.
Right. So what I guess the point that I was getting at is I know a lot of people will use the argument, it's been enough time, people will forget about it. I don't think that necessarily is true. There may be certain sides of audience out there that are willing to put it past them and move on, but there will be other people. And it's so funny that you say that because Kobe Bryant was one that in many circles people come, especially when he died, were very quick to just praise him, while there were other people that would consistently bring up his domestic. I don't know what it was categorized, but he had some domestic issues, and
I'm one of those people. I'm not going to go out and so for me it's as it happens on this show a lot of times, right? This is a very personal situation, opinion, whatever you want to call it. For me, I again because I am very, I, I have been a little too close to domestic violence in my life, where that's a little bit harder for me to get over. But I'm not going to yuck anybody else's yum. I know people who Kobe is. He means other stuff to them, and if he means that to them, that's great. But for me personally, that it did sour it for me. I didn't wish him, death or anything like that. It soured his memory for me. But that's another thing where like I don't think we need to go out in groups and chastise anybody else who does hold that person up. Just for me, it's a no.
And Julio Urias' agent did say he is going to actively pursue to continue his baseball career. Now, whether a team in Major League Baseball will give him out that opportunity, we'll see. Will it be in the Mexican League? Will it be in the Japan League? Will it be in Korea in the KBO? Who knows if a team will give him in a professional organization that opportunity? We will see it. Uh, I think does need to be prepared to get the reaction that you just mentioned right now, Amie, is as much as he's going to want to put this behind him, you've given perfect examples as to why it
Mhm.
can't go behind him. So that I just wanted to bring that up because Rogelio did send that message. So in terms of updates, that's really all I have. Everything else we can work into the show. So you wanna get into some Dodger talk, Amie?
Oh my gosh, do I ever? I feel like I'm going through withdrawals, even though like we it wasn't that long ago since the last game.
Well, a pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. Let's start with the series
Juan,
in
you
Milwaukee.
just did that.
I just did what?
You've been scullied us twice.
Okay. Drink everybody. I got to start taking my ginkgo biloba. Uh, I yeah, I really got to go back and listen. I thought I didn't do my and a pleasant good evening to you. Okay. Um,
Just so that you don't get a base running blunder from Jose Ayala.
wow. I know I'm going to start getting some messages. Juan, I'm concerned. I'm really concerned what's going on
We
here.
need to get you some crossword puzzles and some Sudoku.
If anybody here is aware, this is not a scripted show. Okay, everything is off the cuff, and Amie is a perfect witness to this because most of the time, I would probably say, Amie, you have no clue what's going to come out of my mouth.
Nope, I really don't. I mean, as we've pulled the curtain back before, like our show is pretty much the rundown that Juan gave you at the time we started. Like the notes that we have are we're going to go over updates, we're going to recap the game, we have some other stuff, and then we're going to go over the All Star break. So, what happens inside? Who knows? We're all on this roller coaster together.
I am the
Buckle up,
human.
buttercups.
That's right. I am the human version of squirrel. So let's start with Milwaukee. Let's start with the Cerveceros series. And let's start with the fact that they got swept by Houston. Then they end up getting swept by the Cerveceros. The sky is falling. Everybody's freaking out here now,
Not everybody,
except
because
for Amie. Amie was the only one that was freaking out because, Amie, what is this?
it's baseball. That's
That's
baseball.
right. So let's go with the pros. Okay, the pros are at that time in back-to-back series, they played the two hottest teams in Major League Baseball. The teams with the best records since in the month of June, the Dodgers got them back to back. Now, on top of that, their offense went missing in action.
Well, they've got a lot of injuries too, so we were also missing like Edmund, Theo, Kike's out. We're still waiting for like Mookie to kind of settle in. Freddie, everybody's not quite 100% right now,
So let's address a couple of those things.
and Max is out.
So for me, that said, Vicero series really, I felt just came down to the offense. The offense has been struggling, and I mean, you still the name of you still got to score more runs than the other team in order to win games. And
100%.
there were some very low scoring games in that said Vicero series. And you brought up something here that I don't have an answer to. It's something I think that I'm definitely keeping my eye on in the second half of the season. when you mentioned that Mookie is still not, clicking on all cylinders offensively, if you look at the numbers, this is based on the numbers, this is Mookie's worst season he's had in his career in Major League Baseball. So, of course, you have to sit here and ask yourself the question, okay, this is his worst season. It's a one-off. It happens in Major League Baseball. I don't think there's a history of any Major League player that has had a career where every year he was fantastic. So, is this just a down first half for Mookie, or is this Mookie's getting older and now we got to start to get used to this is the Mookie we're going to see? I think there's just a lot of questions. My concern is this, Amie, is I think he is so important to this team offensively that the Dodgers really need him to figure something out. And this was sent to me also by a listener. I want to get your opinion on this. It's like, Juan, maybe for Mookie to figure things out, would it help him to move him back to the leadoff spot? A spot that he is familiar with, a spot where players are creatures of habit. This is not the first time that has been floated. I know a lot of people have said, well, what if we move Mookie back to the leadoff spot? That means you're going to take Shohei. Now, you take Shohei out of the leadoff spot. Would that also help Shohei, especially now that Shohei is pitching? Amie, what do you think about changing those spots in the lineup? Do you think those would be beneficial to Mookie? And I know you're not worried about Mookie, but what are you seeing with Mookie?
No, I'm not, because like this is whatever all the questions that you have. Like this is the Mookie we get. Like it is what it is, and I will remind people like he had a pretty serious illness at the beginning of the season, and he's having to bounce back, much like we're seeing Shohei rehab during games, which is a little unprecedented. These guys, when they have big stuff happen like this, they're basically rehabbing while the season is going on. And that's, to me, I feel like that's kind of a big deal. So that aside, like I'm sure he's the first person who would like to turn his season around. I think that would be a great idea. Shake things up, put him back in the leadoff spot. That's where he started last year before he had that injury, and then they kind of swapped him out with Shohei, and then Shohei started producing really well. Um, I think that also solves part of the problem where if you don't have the back end of the lineup hitting, you've already got Mookie potentially on base. So I don't see any problem with that. The only thing is Shohei's maybe not going to get, that extra at bat, however many times that comes around. But really with him pitching is I don't think that would be such a bad thing. It gives him a little extra time. I think it could be beneficial for everybody.
What else did you see in that Cervecero series?
So there were some we all had the crash down moment where Yoshinobu only went 2/3 of an inning. I felt the collective weight of all of baseball fandom in that moment when they pulled him out, and it was just like, Calmate, he had a bad game. Like, but I knew the sky was not just falling, it had exploded if you looked at social media that night. It was insane. But he bounced back. We saw him later in the Giant series. He went 7 innings and no runs were scored. So, he had a blip on the radar. It's unfortunate because then the bullpen had to pick him up again, and we're already seeing like that bullpen, it's getting pretty taxed, but they still stepped in, they did what they had to do. Unfortunately, it was kind of a blowout game. We lost 1-9, but those other two games, like you mentioned, were close. Shohei ended up hitting his 31st home run in that game on Tuesday, so he had a new franchise record where he had the most home runs before the All-Star break. And Miggy Rowe had his first stolen base on Wednesday, so that's, hey, little milestones matter too.
Look, Drink, baseball is such a terribly long season. We still have 2.5 months left until the season is over, ladies and gentlemen. So when Amie tells you, cálmate, no pasa nada, take it easy, they still have a 5.5 game lead. I know we look at the numbers. You saw that they had a 9 game lead at one point, and then the Astros and the Cerveceros showed up, and all of a sudden all that changed.
Oh
And I think
no, they're only 5.5 games up. Like, yes, it's nice to have a 9 game lead, but it also is good padding for when this stuff happens, when people get tired and everything kind of blows up at the same time. Like, they're still up. They're still leading the National League.
and it's a good reminder of how quickly things can change, how quickly the fortune can change. The set,
You did mention the offense, so I did want to say something. So you and I had chatted about this. So I had an opportunity to go do batting practice at Dodger Stadium last week,
that's right. I
and
saw those videos there with your got your elbow up there and all that stuff. So
duh, I know how to hit. But
I
my
take
point,
it. I wasn't. I'm just saying. I was looking at your technique.
um, what I was gonna say is though the majority of people there, obviously, mostly men, smattering of kids, smattering of women, but it was mostly men. Some, some of varying skill levels. Right? You've got some of the guys there that are like softball, whatever. Like, that they're very into that. Let me just say that while we weren't pitching like 99 miles per hour, we also didn't have wooden bats. We just had aluminum bats. Nobody hit one out of the park. The best people did was maybe, out like beginning of the outfield. And these are some of the guys who are super skilled. And I just as a reminder that this game is hard and hitting is hard. And what like professional MLB players do and what we expect them to do on a regular basis, it is superhuman. The fact that we want these guys to go yard in like every game, every at bat, and that's just not feasible. Like, even just watching people take casual batting practice where we have an easier chance of like hitting a little farther, it's a little bit more relaxed. I still didn't see the ball travel like what we see on a baseball field during a professional game. So again, just kudos to the baseball players. Like, let's try to remember that this game is hard, and even when the offense isn't producing, it's not for lack of trying. Wisdom.
Sorry.
Walls.
I don't know. I was hitting unmute, and it just. Amie, I think one of those things that you look at the lineup, especially with it. I don't want to say that this is all on Muncie. I really don't. But when you look at the lineup,
That's a bold statement, sir.
well, I was saving this for when we talked about the Gigantes series, so I'm still gonna save it. But when you look at the lineup, the unicorn is the unicorn. The interesting thing is I think home run wise, I think he's out in front of his pace from last year. Obviously, he's not stealing bases at the same clip that he was last year, and his batting average is a little lower than it was last year. But you could probably just say Shohei's out there being Shohei. Mookie is the one that's having a down year. Will Smith is having a fantastic year. Federico Freeman was having a fantastic year. Then he went into that weird funk where his batting average, and I get it because he missed some time, but his batting average has dropped almost 80 points, and that's how bad his funk is. So he shows signs every once in a while.
It's not
So
really a funk. He has like a what is it? Not a hamstring or a quad strain.
yeah,
Like,
he has the
it's not
quad.
just a funk. He's hurt. He's playing through it. So it's not like, oh man, I have so much head trash I can't hit the ball. It's like his body is not doing what he wants it to do either. And
But I feel like that will translate into a funk because your mechanics are messed up, and when your mechanics are messed up, then it gets in between your ears. Why can't I repeat the same thing over and over again, which is what your mechanics are? So
which is funny because like I feel like Freddie would be the least likely to like get as much head trash because I feel like he's so logical that he's been around so long that he'd be like, yeah, I do want to be hitting better, but I know my mechanics are off.
But that's how hard baseball is. He is the perfect example. We both know how much work that guy puts in every day before a game just to go out there. Like he's putting in the effort. So this in terms of his batting average, this slump that he's in, it's not because of a lack of effort. It's not because of a lack of desire. It is the injury may be factoring in, but it's also just it's baseball, like you say, all
It's a
the time.
it's a grind. These guys all say it. Like it's I feel like it gets taken for granted and we try to shine some light on it here on this show, but like baseball is a grind. It's exhausting. Hold on, David wants a taco. I think there's an ambulance coming this way. They are not behind you. They are just going down the street.
That's another game. Every time a siren goes off, there's the search for David wants a taco. So
It's okay. Shh. Um, so I mean, yes, I agree with that. I also think like Will Smith doesn't get enough credit. Like he starts the year out strong pretty much every year, but the last couple years he's gotten injured. I think he had the concussion protocols last year, and then we didn't know that he had also kind of busted a rib, or he had some like oblique issue. Like that stuff is going to impact how you go forward in the season, and like I don't know. I think it just really just comes down to baseball is hard and it's a grind.
what I feel is also interesting is okay. So those are four hitters in the lineup, right? And those first four hitters are probably the most important hitters in this lineup in terms of offensively. So if those guys are not clicking on all cylinders, I feel this is the point where everybody likes to point out that the Dodgers have an all-star team. Like this is how an offense can struggle. They are very dependent on those stars to do what they always do. The Oscar Hernandez, to me, if you look at his numbers, I think are very similar to last year's numbers. And who knows, by the end of the year, he may end up reproducing the same identical numbers as he did last year. But he is another dude that, to me, in terms of the eye test, does not look right, does not look the same as he did last year. I know he's been dealing with injuries.
I was just
He
gonna say he's injured.
yeah. So I what I'm saying is I think all these things are contributing to why all of a sudden the offense has gone into a funk when you have all of a sudden these guys who you are very dependent on are not producing the way they normally are. Now you're missing Max Muncy in the lineup. You still have Michael Conforto in the lineup, who, while he is still showing signs, is still hitting under the Mendoza line. Tommy
Have you
Edman.
have you heard that Tim Neverett and Rick Monday are now calling it the Euchre line because Euchre hit at 200 and Mendoza was like 215 or something like that, or maybe I have it reversed. But they're starting to use different terminology if you listen to the radio broadcast.
I did not know that they were doing that, but I am glad that they are bringing to people's attention the fact that Mario Mendoza did not hit 200. I am curious to see if the Euchre line will stick, if that will become because it's just become so universal to call
Mhm.
it the Mendoza line. So maybe the Euchre line will work, but
So just if you listen to the radio broadcast and you don't understand why they keep saying the Euchre line, they did give the explanation, I think like I don't know, a month or so ago, but they continue to use that. So there's a the more you know.
doo, doo, doo. Tommy Edman has come back to earth. If you all remember that the way he started off the season, everybody was projecting that this guy was going to have career highs. Now he's been dealing with injury all year long, and it
They
seems to
all
be,
have I don't think you have a healthy player. I mean, maybe Pajes? He's
and
healthy.
where would they be without Andy Pajes? I mean, Andy Pajes is performing the way you want those guys at the top of the lineup. So Andy Pajes, I think, has been a wonderful surprise. And now, because of the Muncie injury, you have Miguel Rojas playing more time, who, while he has his moments every now and again, he's not there for offensive reasons. He's there because of his glove. So again, these are all reasons why, when you look at it, this should not come to a surprise why the Dodgers are struggling offensively. Hae-Sung Kim is still hitting over 300, even though it seems like he's coming back to earth. And maybe it's
And he's
because
a rookie.
he's a rookie, and realistically, no one, I think, was expecting this guy to hit 400 the whole season. But you still have the inconsistency with his playing time. Again, offensively, I can understand. You hope that this is a funk. You hope that in the second half of the season, especially as they get closer to the playoffs, these guys start getting healthy, and those guys who have been struggling Mookie, Michael Conforto. I mean, sooner or later, the Dodgers have to make a decision with Michael Conforto. I know you and I have talked about this, and it seems like they're sticking with Michael Conforto for the rest of the year, but that's still left to be said. But he's hitting under the euchre line. You still need productivity, and you've said this many times. Not everybody in the lineup is going to hit at the same time. So if your top guys are struggling, you need those bottom guys to pick up the slack.
Well, and his defense has been, at least, like, he's saved quite. I mean, he's been doing pretty good out in left field. I know that Teoscar also plays left field really well, but until the Dodgers make a decision on that, like, at least it's not both, right? He is struggling offensively, but at least his defense is there, so we can count on him over in that corner. We're not just like, oh gosh, he's on the field and he's at the plate, and where are we? So, in the grand scheme, these guys have not been healthy at the same time for a single series this whole season. So the hope is they will eventually get to that point, and if they do, man, that'll be great. But again, we don't live in what if land. So this is the team we have. They're probably going to drop some games until they either get healthier, they get some of those key pieces back, or maybe they're already probably thinking about it in the front office, but maybe they do shift around the lineup. Maybe they do put Mookie, first, and then they put Shohei second. So until they start shaking some things up, this is the team that we have right now, and they're doing the best. Like, we're seeing them try to claw back. It's not for a lack of trying. When you see them in their at bats or trying to, like, come back in those games, and then you've got pitching that's doing its best to hold it down, with the exception of that Yamamoto game. Like, Kershaw, he pitched 6 innings. He only gave up 2 runs. Like, considering we're still seeing him coming back from surgery in the postseason, what we've seen with some of the pitchers returning after injury, like, pretty amazing. And that game, I'm not going to say it was a foregone conclusion, but Mizorowski has been on a roll in his 6-7 starts that he's had this year. Like, he has been kind of like he's been extraordinary. 12 strikeouts. Like, it was beautiful to watch from a baseball perspective. It sucked to watch it against our team.
Well, but again, in the first game, I get it that Yamamoto wasn't pitching well, and you got behind the 8 ball very quickly in that game. You still only scored 1 run in that game, and it's a really tall order to win a game with one run.
Mm-hmm.
The
There were a lot
Kershaw
of.
game,
I'm looking at that game. Even that game had a lot of strikeouts. They struck out 11 times in that game.
there wasn't much run support, and then Tyler Glasnow, which is
And you had the one home run from Shohei, that leadoff home run, and they didn't score after that at all in that second game.
Again, and that's why for me the story in Milwaukee is the bats were missing. Who knows where the bats were left off, and it doesn't matter how good or bad the pitching was. You still have to score more runs than the other team in order to win games.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. It wasn't all doom and gloom because, again, I think Clayton Kershaw looked good. He was out there. He kept them in the game. He did everything you asked him to. He kept you in the game.
Glasnow made his debut.
I think Glasnow was very encouraging. Now, the fan in me, Amie, is not going to get too high on that because I'm always. Do you remember when? Yeah, well, I am always negative. But do you remember when Clayton Kershaw was dealing with his back issue? It seemed every year, and it was just a ticking time bomb. You were just waiting to see when his back issue was going to come up. That's kind of what I feel like with Tyler Glasnow. So as good as he looked on Wednesday, there's a part of my mind that can't escape the fact I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Okay, when is he going to get hurt? When is he going to get hurt? Because I just can't, for the life of me, depend or expect that he's going to be in the playoff rotation. And it's
And
not
and
because of performance. I just feel it's because of health.
And he may not be. Like, these guys, this is the thing that I feel like also doesn't get a lot of credit. Like, these guys, yeah, they have these huge contracts, many of them, not everybody. They retire in their 30s, but their bodies are ruined. Like, the fact that Clayton Kershaw has only had one surgery is a wonder in the 18 years that he's pitched, and it's just on his what, like his shoulder and now his foot. Um, or no, maybe I'm thinking of Otani with shoulders, so maybe it's just the foot. But regardless, the fact that this was his first time having surgery, that's not typically the case with most players, and the fact that like it is repetitive movements. They're like it just I guess my thing would be, guys, just expect that it's going to happen. Like these guys, it's not like they're trying to get out of it. They're trying to like have somebody write them a note like, "Oh, I just can't play today." Like if they're not playing, it's not because they don't want to. It's because they can't. And it sucks, but your body can only take so much.
True that. Anything else that you want to cover in that said Recetos? It's just really hard for me. You get swept by the Astros, and now you get swept by the said Recetos, back to back sweeps. I don't know what else I can add to those series.
No, I'm sure that, I mean, there were still some good things. So Bill Plunkett wrote an article last week, and it was basically revisiting the tequila salutes that they do when they win a series. And they were talking about how like Miggy Rowe, Jason Hayward, and I think one other player, they all got together a year ago, 2 years ago, and they decided, some of the more, God, it is the end of the day and my brain is just not working, but more of the Freddies, the Shoheis or whatever, they're so used to winning. They're used to being on teams and having all of these accolades. But some of the other players, especially the new ones, like you've got to celebrate the little things. Even if you like maybe you barely eked by and won that series, there's still something positive that came out of it. Like even like Miggy Rowe's first stolen base. To me, I feel like that's something that they might celebrate in one of those series. But they call out these guys and they give them a moment and they do their tequila shot. And I think that is such a good reminder that even if you drop two series, you get swept, which is like the worst thing that could happen and nobody wants it. We can still find the positive in it, and that these guys are still grinding every day. And it's like Miggy stole a base. Somebody else did something, and it's not always the high leverage guys. And so if that gives anybody any hope, even just one person, like it just, I don't know. I thought it was worth mentioning.
It was a rough series, and if this makes anybody feel any better, when the Dodgers come back this weekend to Los Angeles to start the second half of the season, they're seeing the Cerveceros again. So they had a number of pitchers that did a number of them offensively. So here's going to be a test. Have they figured out their offensive woes, or is it just a matter of this is what happens when they play against good teams? When they play against good teams, it they've lost season series to the Cachorros. They've lost season series to the Metropolitans. Those are all teams that are right now in the playoff hunt. So sooner or later, I get it. It's the regular season, and it's like, who cares, Juan? You still have 2.5 more months. Sooner or later, I think you have to start showing that you can produce against the top teams in Major League Baseball.
I feel like that's not giving credit though. Like that's only focusing on the negative. Like they've also beat San Diego. They beat, before New York kind of went on that downturn, they also beat the Yankees. Like they are still playing other teams and winning, but people tend to focus on just the ones that they're losing. And this is where, like, I think we talked about it in the last one. Yeah, we lost to the Astros, but they were also going up against a lot of our rookie or our younger pitchers. So it's who you meet in that moment, in that time. And you have a little bit more control, I think, in the postseason. Okay, like how are we going to stack our pitching versus, we're trying to just get through the rotation. We've got to make sure we have a 6-day rotation because of Yoshinobu, and we got to make sure he stays healthy. You have a little bit more leeway of how you're going to structure that stuff when it's the postseason. Maybe you get another break. Maybe the All-Star break gives them a little bit more rest that they needed. So I think a lot of that factors in, but also like they've been doing a pretty good job too, and it's who they met in this moment. That's not going to be who they are later in the season.
You hope it's not, but that's
Well,
why they play the games.
And at the end of the day, if they are, literally, what are you guys going to do about it? Nothing. You support the team because you're a fan, or you're a fan that tears them down because that makes you feel better about it. And if that's what you want to do and that's how you enjoy the games, go for it. But I'm going to hold my team up, even if they're not playing well. I know it's not because they're not trying, and that's where we all fan differently.
Do you want to move on to San Pancho?
We can.
All right. So they end up winning 2 out of 3. They end up
And Teo came back. We got him back.
they ended up getting that feeling again of what it feels like to win a game. They lost that first game, and I know people were freaking out because at that point the losing streak had reached 7, and there was this belief: would the Dodgers ever win another game
Oh my
again?
God, people. Jesus.
Um, from that first game, it is the story of Dustin May's season. Just the start before against the Medias Blancas, the White Sox, it was like he looked so good, and I know a lot of people were yelling on the rooftops, Juan, it's the White Sox, it's Las Medias Blancas, and it was like, did Dustin May figure something out? Did Dustin May figure something out? And then you see him against the Gigantes, and it's 1 inning. A lot of us who have been Dodger fans long enough will call that the Darren Dreifert syndrome, which is you look good for 4 innings and then there's 1 inning where all the wheels come off. It's just, I think it's so frustrating to watch his inconsistency. And look, the guy knows it. You don't have to call it out, because if you ever see his post game interviews now have become, to me, the most uncomfortable watch of anything this season, because I feel like, again, it's like, why are they making this poor guy answer these questions? Because I feel like all he wants to do is just yell and have a moment with himself as to why he can't figure things out. But they bounced back, and there were positives in those last 2 games. For me, one of them is the unicorn. I mean, the unicorn keeps getting better and better. He's now up to 3 innings, Amie. I know they want to get him to 5 innings by the end of the year. And I get it. It's a cumulative of 9 innings that he's pitched so far. But his ERA is under 2. And he just looks like all of his pitches. I hope he can continue on this, because having that guy in the postseason, I think, is going to be huge. And I myself am going to be very excited, because this is going to be the first time we're going to get to see him pitch in the postseason.
And for him get just like he's gonna have that feeling, because much like last year, it was his first time in the postseason. Now it's like, now you get to do the thing you love. Like he likes to hit, but he loves pitching. So to get to do that, like now he has another feather to put in his hat of like, oh my gosh, now I get to pitch in the postseason. Like I'm stoked for him, and I mean it's really, it's fun to watch, especially like he walked one batter and you could see how frustrated he got, like, I didn't pitch perfectly. And it just the disdain for himself of just like, he holds himself to such a high standard, and we're getting to see that play out not only just offensively but also on the pitching side. So to have a 1 ERA, 4 strikeouts, like, and he did it all in 36 pitches. Like he made it look neat and efficient over those 3 innings.
Yeah, I was not expecting this. I was not expecting this at all from him coming back. Again, stretched out to 3. I don't know how soon. I mean, in that game in particular, you probably could have made the argument he probably could have gone out there for a 4th inning. But I get it. The Dodgers are very conservative. They have a plan, and they're sticking to it with him. And so far, it is producing results. So
Mhm.
clearly, stick with the plan. But
Well, in his last game, he struck out the side in that last inning, and then this game starting off, he struck out the side. So it was just like, dang, like we're getting to watch this in real time. Like this, it's just amazing.
yeah, he's looking good, and I'm very excited about seeing him go out there and pitch. And another guy who I'm just as excited about, and he piggybacked Shohei in that game on Saturday, was Emmett Sheehan. I mean,
Mhm.
Emmett Sheehan is just, he has come out there. I have to say, I'm really surprised too, because this is a guy coming back from surgery. We've seen how many examples of pitchers coming back from surgery struggling. This dude doesn't seem like he's going through it
Oh, oh, we had
pitching better
we had
than
our first frozen moment. Okay, you're back.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I?
Tell us about what you were saying about Emmett Sheehan, because that was, I want to hear it again.
I'm just I was not aware that I froze. I was just sitting here, just looking at myself talk. Am I coming in clearly now?
Yes, you are.
Wow, wow. Are you getting a headache now just listening to me?
No, just your accidental narcissism right now.
I don't know if it's accidental, ladies and gentlemen. I really don't. So,
I was trying to
uh,
give you some grace.
what I'm saying, I
Basically,
was
you're impressed by him.
well. I'm just surprised at how well he's looked since coming back, because of the fact that we've seen so many pitchers who come back from injury struggle, and there's a lot of examples of that in the Dodgers. But Emmett Sheehan, to me, looks like he's actually pitching better than he was pitching before he got hurt. And it's like, how did he do that? What bottle that up and sell it, buddy? But I get very excited when he goes out there and pitches every day, because I have a lot of confidence in him and in him being able to produce and at least give the Dodgers a fighting chance to win a game.
Well, and I think that just goes to his, like, I don't want to say it's all just skill, because as we've seen some very skilled pitchers come back from injury and they just struggle. But like, remember, this is the guy who skipped a level in the minors and just came up to the majors. So I think, I don't want to say he's got it all figured out, but I feel like these things kind of trend in such a positive way for him. I hope it continues to do that, because I mean, he has had a little bit of adversity having to have surgery, especially when he was doing so well. So the fact that he's able to just kind of roll with it and roll well when we haven't seen other pitchers do it is just, I hope this keeps up for him. Um, in that series, I did want to mention, I think it was the Sunday game. I don't know how closely you were watching, but did you see that call in the top of the fifth where the umpire, it was clearly a ball, and the umpire called it a strike, and Miggy Rowe got a little bit upset by it, said something, and then the next pitch came through and it was still a little wonky. Ended up being a full count, and then Miggy Rowe slammed a home run, and it was just like, oh, I could have had a ball and I could have just been on first base. But no, you're not gonna call this right? All right. And it's like, I took that personally. It was such a, just the vindication of like, yes.
I look at it as that that's just baseball. That's
Oh,
just
see, and
baseball.
that's where I get petty, where I'm like, yeah, show them.
I mean, it is weird in the sense, I think baseball, karmically, how baseball works itself out, because, okay, that could have just been a runner on first instead of an actual run. But to me, missing balls and strikes, it's part of the game. I know with the advances in technology, now it is like you can't miss a call, because if you miss a call, it turns into this whole diatribe about how it's just ruining the sport, when balls and strikes have been missed for the whole history of the sport.
I think people though have been frustrated with that for a long time though. So I know that I'm in the party that's actually excited about the challenge system. I don't want to get rid of umpires. I think they like the amount of calls that they do get right. I think we do need to focus on, but I think when it's an egregious call and it can change the course of a game, I do think we should have a challenge system for something like that. We're seeing people challenge like the tiny little sliver of a foot before it hits the base when somebody's tagging him out at second. If we can do that, we should have a challenge system for some of the egregious calls at the plate, in my opinion.
And I don't think we're ever going to get rid of umpires, but I will tell you this: we're getting to the point very quickly where umpires, I think, are just going to be there for show, because everything is going to be reviewed. The machines are going to be making the decisions, because even though you'll have an umpire behind home plate and maybe they're not calling balls and strikes, they're there to call plays at the plate. They're going to challenge a play at the plate, and then they're going to look to see if they were right or wrong. So there's always going to be that luxury where if an umpire misses a safe call or an out call, all right, well, let's go to the tape. In
But
the end, the tapes are going to be the ones that are going to be making these decisions.
right, but it's not every play, because if you wasted it and you're wrong, like you're losing that challenge. So like there is some discretion involved. It's not just a free for all of like, let's challenge everything or let's get rid of the human element so that we can just have whatever the machines call the game. I am so anti Skynet and, like Terminator 2, but in this respect, I think you can have a marriage of both because we've already got some of that review built into the game. I think there should be a little bit more equity across the board in those cases because, you know, some of those calls are game changers. And I know that there are purists in that respect that are like, baseball karma will balance it out. Well, but if we could just challenge it and see it and have the course of the game go the way that it needs to, why not?
Look, I'm not fighting these changes. I realize this is just part of how this game has evolved. But it is, if you're looking at it, these changes are drastic and it's jarring if you go back and you look at a game, not even in the 60s, if you look at a game in the 80s, it is very different, the game that is being played in terms of, I don't know if it's the spirit of the rule to be that microscopic where if someone slides off the base for a millisecond, we now will have the technology I don't
And I
know.
and I don't agree with that either, to be fair. Like I think we need to get better rules in that regard because I also think that's how people get injured. Like I got to slide into the bag. I got to stay on the back. Like I don't know that some of these changes have been for the best. I think we probably could improve on some of them, but you've also got to get a consensus of people to agree on that as well.
No, absolutely. Did you feel better about Yamamoto on Sunday?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I didn't feel bad about him in the last series. I knew he had a bad day. Like it was just like, all right, well, hopefully he bounces back. I've had bad days. Let's see how the next game goes. And he was fine. He went 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Like it was the Yamamoto that we're used to seeing. Like these guys aren't perfect. They're not gods. So,
Talking about not perfect and not being gods, Tanner Scott cost Yamamoto a win on Sunday. It is Tanner Scott's 7th blown save of the season. He leads all of Major League Baseball. Again, we have a whole second half of Major League Baseball. We
in his
have
defense, he saved the game the prior night. I mean,
that is true. But what I'm focusing on is,
is the negative.
yes, the negative. And you say negative, I like to think of it as more of the reality of it, in the
But
sense
the
of,
reality is he had 2 games, one he saved, one he didn't.
and the reality is that no one in Major League Baseball has blown more saves than him.
Okay.
That's the reality that we're dealing with. And if you're going to go into the postseason and that's going to be your guy, my question is this: how confident are the Dodgers that he is going to be their guy and that he will be in that role in the postseason? Because we have seen it in the past, in the 2020 World Series. Kenley Jansen was that guy. And then when it came to at closing the deal, the Dodgers didn't go to him. The
Yeah.
Dodgers went to someone else. So I
You
know
bring
a
up
lot.
a good point. I mean, they definitely need to look into it because they have other options. They've never Wall Tanner, when he signed his contract, said that he wanted to be the closer. The fact is that they've kind of alluded like yes he would be mostly in that role, but they are still kind of closer by committee because you'll still see Vesia come in, or we saw in that multi or that extra innings game, Kasperi has carried I think like an inning and a third, an inning and a yeah. So they have options.
And they still have, because the trade deadline is coming up, and rumors are they're looking at relievers. So especially a reliever with the Minnesota Twins, Duran, that they're looking at. Um, the Michael Kopech thing, I think, changes things because of
Mhm.
the injury. You don't know when. I know they're expecting him back by the end of the season, but you don't know when you're going to have him back. Blake
And
Trinan.
and we've got to wait for him to like adjust from coming back because not everybody's an Emmett Sheehan.
Exactly. And Blake Trinan is a guy that we know the organization trusts,
Mhm.
and that they would put him in situations like that. So it's an interesting question because this is not just once or twice that it's happened. Luckily, the Dodgers came back and they won that game and they were able to win the series. Gives them a little wind underneath their sails as they go to the second half of the season, especially after that rough back to back series with the Astros and the Cerveceros. But it is one of those things where it's the up and down of Tanner Scott.
Mhm.
There was a period there where he had talked about how the coaches had looked at his wind up and they found some things, his mechanics, and they thought he fixed it. And then they went through a stretch where he looked really good and he was pitching really well, and everybody was like, Tanner Scott is back. And then there's moments like what we saw in San Francisco, and you would
And
just
maybe it was just a bad day. Maybe, hopefully, we'll see.
yeah.
We'll see what that trend shows. But maybe it was just a bad day. Hopefully, that's the case. Because I mean, I'm looking at it here. I mean, it was a 2-run home run. So otherwise, that inning was clean. You had a batter fly out to center. That he did give up a single, and then you had I think it was Matos came in. Let's see.
Matos was the one who hit the home
Yeah,
run.
Matos hit the 2-run home run, and then you had the next player pop out. He walked a guy, and then the next one flew out. So,
I,
not
it,
again, not ideal, but it's not like he was walking everybody or.
no. My thing is when you have a victory that changes into an L, and again, that was luckily the Dodgers came back in extra innings and were able to win that and keep it as a
But it is
W.
2 extra innings that you're taxing the bullpen now.
Exactly. It is one of those things where I'm curious if the organization, if it's on the organization's radar, or if it's
You
still
you
too
don't
early.
think you don't think it is?
Well, I mean, a lot of these guys. Look, when we saw how the Oscar was drank, when we saw how the Oscar was struggling, and we've seen it. I'm going to segue into I want to give some, even though I'm negative, I'm going to segue into some positivity. The Dodgers have come out and are just like, "Hey, Teoscar Hernandez is our right fielder. Whether you guys like it or not, there he is our right fielder. Tanner Scott is our closer. Whether you guys like it or not, we have full confidence in him. We're going to keep throwing him out there." Another guy who they do this to is Michael Conforto. And a lot of people said Michael Conforto had his revenge in San Francisco this series because he looked pretty good offensively. And again, I feel like we have this conversation every time we're on the show, and that is Michael Conforto starts showing signs, and
It
does
moves his
this
clock back.
exactly. It's like, okay, well, maybe he's figuring things out. And the trade deadline is in 2 weeks. So are they looking for an outfielder, or are they sticking with Michael Conforto? It's the Michael Conforto situation is just one of those things where I really don't know what they're gonna do.
I mean, and this is where like you don't care, like it's a non-issue on some of the other stuff. Like to me, I'm like, they're gonna, they're gonna put whoever they're gonna put in
Yeah.
left field. It may be him, it may not be him. We may get someone else, and like I would just hope that whoever we got, depending on who's even available on the market, like I don't want to see the defense suffer in left field, depending on what happens there. And you'd have to get somebody who offensively was better than where he's at, but also can hold it up defensively.
And you know what's funny about that, Amy, is I totally agree with you. Defensively, he has looked good, but often in the late innings, he is replaced for defensive purposes, either by Geeke or by someone else. So it is funny that we're sitting here talking about how good he's been defensively, but yet they don't feel comfortable enough in the late innings to keep him in that
Well,
position,
we
and
also
they'll
don't
put someone
know,
else in.
but we don't know why they're pulling him out, if it is for defensive purposes or are they giving somebody else a chance to play prior to them getting some offensive time in. So it's
Yeah,
because you've also got to give some of these platoon people, you've got to get them reps, and if you're not getting them in, it's not just reps at the plate, they've got to be out there playing because you can only do so much in a simulated setting before a game.
that's fair. That's fair. Is there anything else about the Gigante series that you want to discuss?
No, I think that was everything that really jumped out at me. I'm glad they took the series, especially anytime Logan Webb is pitching. It's just like, oh gosh.
Oh, this was my Max Muncy thing because Logan Webb was the one who said this. Logan Webb said that when they game plan against the Dodgers, in particular, the guy they game plan for is Max Muncy.
Mm.
So I know a lot of people like to think, well, come on, they still have Shohei, they still have Mookie, they have Federico, they have Will Smith. This is maybe why the Dodgers offense. It's really hard to ignore the fact that the offense kind of went into the dumper the minute that Max Muncy got hurt.
And that happened last year too. If
Yeah,
if
so
nobody recalls, like he is a big part of that lineup, and sometimes it's even just the patience he has at the plate. I know some people get frustrated, like he swings for the fences, or he struck out again. But if like typically when he's really like dialed in, his walk to strikeout to hit rate, like it is pretty much even across the board, which is not too shabby considering like 2/3 of that usually involves him getting on base. So, if you're striking out a third of the time, but 2/3 of the time you're getting on, that's not a bad trade off.
and I'm curious because he's going to be coming back from a knee injury. How long is it really going to take him to not just be healthy, but to be confident to trust that knee? And
And do you keep him at third? Like, do you keep him in the hot corner? Do you like swap him out for like second base? Maybe that's a little less.
I have someone has mentioned second base to me, and he it's tough because he was when he played second base, believe it or not, he was actually really good.
I know. You don't have to believe it or not me.
And then he was also good at first base. Now, first base is no longer an option.
Hmm.
I don't know if
Just
they'll
like
move him.
DHing is no longer an option. Like he's getting forced out of a job by all kinds of people.
Exactly. I'm just more concerned of how long it's going to take him to really trust that knee because when you tend to overcompensate, then you end up injuring something else. So that's really my only concern, and it also just sucked because it seemed like he had really figured something out
Mhm.
at the plate, and he was really. But I thought it was so interesting that Logan Webb specifically singled out not having Max Muncy in the lineup makes a big difference for opposing teams when they play the Dodgers.
Hmm. I mean, I don't want to say I'm not shocked. Like I feel like he is an important part of the lineup. So to me, in that respect, I'm not. Just because I mean, he's a big piece. We saw it last year. We're seeing it again this year.
All right, let's talk about the All Star Home Run Derby and the All Star Game itself.
Your
The,
favorites.
the Dodgers had four All Stars. Amie, let's start with your Home Run Derby because nobody loves the Home Run Derby more than you. The floor is yours, madam. You go ahead and you take over.
I will say this. So I went out and watched it somewhere, and there were some people that were close to me that were like shouting at the TV, saying not very nice things to players or the peoples that were pitching. And then halfway through, it came out that they had bets on the game. And I was like, wow, so this is why you're saying, like, it wasn't horrible stuff. Like, it wasn't Cattell Marte level, but it was enough where it was like, wow, you're kind of ruining this because you're so loud and you're just like, it just wasn't very nice things. And then when he was like, God, my bet, like whatever, when he's talking to his buddy, and it was just like, that tracks. That tracks. It's just like stuff that we've been covering all season. So
That tracks in the stands. It definitely strikes.
I was
Uh,
so frustrated. Did you, so I know you weren't, did you watch it or were you like, I'm not even going to watch it?
I let's just say it was on in the background. Was I watching it intensely? Was I hanging on every pitch? Absolutely not. But
So you weren't over there like, I like jotting down when they called the timeout when like, okay.
no, I wasn't. And a lot of the times I even was listening to it on the radio. By the time I got where I could actually get the visual on it, it was I will say this, Amy, and I'm curious because you are such an avid fan of the home run derby. Did it change your mind or did it impact you at all that a lot of the big name stars did not participate in it this year?
So that was something I was actually going to bring up. I actually kind of liked it. I liked that it wasn't the bigger names. Um, I feel like we should maybe do that more in the future, because it was just there were players that I hadn't really heard of that much, again because baseball is so regional. And then as you start to see them, like how they're reacting, how they're interacting with their guys on the breaks, it was like, oh, like this guy's really cool. Like I need to keep an eye on him. So it just like seeing Byron Buxton, O'Neill Cruz, who I was talking to one of our other listeners, Philip reminded me that he had come through the Dodgers farm system. So then it was like, oh, we have a connection to this guy. Like it was interesting. I did feel kind of bad, but not too bad for Jazz Chisholm Jr. because he only hit 3 and got eliminated. Like it's hard. Like I don't know how these guys do it. And then to see it's all the people that you wouldn't think were gonna like go far ended up kind of going farther than you gave them credit for, and then people you thought were locks maybe didn't hit as many as you were thinking. So it just I think because they weren't big names, I enjoyed it. And I don't know how many people were paying attention, but Ronald Acuna Jr. was supposed to be in it, and then Matt Olson ended up replacing him because of that back tightness that Acuna Jr. had. So it was just again an interesting mix-up of players.
In the end, I think there are some good stories that come out of it. Cal Raleigh, I think, is a very good story, and the fact that they call him the Dumper is his
Big
nickname.
dumper.
The Big
And then
Dumper is
he
his
and then he had
nickname.
his dad out there and his brother was catching. The whole
Exactly, and
dumper family.
yes, in the back in the post game after he won, they had asked him, "How are you going to go celebrate?" And he said, "Well, considering that my brother's underage, we're probably just going to have some cokes." But it's so great, right? That you get to you not only win that, but you get to share it with your family. So I think those are all great elements. Chaz Chisholm should not feel bad at all because at least he hit more home runs than a Hall of Famer by the name of Mike Piazza did when Mike Piazza participated in the home run derby.
Oh
So
no. Oh
at least
no.
Chaz Chisholm can go ahead and wear that. So
It
yes,
was cool to see like Cal Raleigh. He switched it up that first round. Like because he's a switch hitter. He hit left-handed, then right-handed, then left-handed, and then you saw him the rest of the time. He was hitting significantly better from the left side, so he just went with that. O'Neill Cruz hit like his first 3 hits were home runs, where it was like he didn't even warm up. He was just like right out the gate. You did see in that final round when Junior Caminero was hitting, and one of the kids in the outfield robbed one of the home runs.
that was my favorite moment of the whole thing.
I was so irritated. I was like,
That
"Here
was
we
my
go
favorite
again.
moment.
Toxic masculinity strikes again."
Why is that toxic
No,
masculinity?
it just like you have like you're supposed to catch the balls in the in the outfield. You're not supposed to like you don't need to go grab for the one at the wall. The
But
whole
that
point is for
kid
it to go out.
he got caught up in the moment.
No, no,
This
no. That's
this
no
is
self-awareness. That I don't get this whole caught up in the moment.
how
No.
old is that kid?
I don't know. I'm not mad at the kid. I'm
I
just
mean, but he's
saying
pretty we would say he's young, right? A teenager,
young.
you would think?
Yeah. But
Okay.
to me, the argument of like getting caught up in the moment, that's like you need to have self-awareness. I just
I loved it. I
I
thought it
I
was
think it's
great.
funny that Cal Raleigh said like jokingly that he paid him off to do that. But I think God, I don't even remember what clip I sent you, but there was a guy who like something happened and he had the wherewithal not to reach for the ball. So it's like so it is possible for people to not interject or interrupt the game. It's just the lack of self-awareness where people don't pull themselves back.
Look, everything you're saying makes sense. But I also think there's a part of me that understands he's a kid
Yeah.
that dreams and does. I can't tell you the number of times that I did when I was playing in the outfield. How many times I faked imagine robbing someone of a home run. Like to me, that's what an outfielder you dream of is robbing someone of a home run. And obviously, you go 100%. I don't have a problem with it. Now, correct me if I'm
I
wrong.
understand it. I still just think like you, I don't know, and maybe that's the difference, or that's the privilege. Like I feel like I'll split it into genders to give it a different example. Women have to be very aware of everything all the time, so like we have to have that wherewithal. If you don't have to have that all the time, I guess it would be easier just to go react in the moment. But to me, that's where like well, if I can have self-control, then you can have self-control. So while I understand it happening, I also just dude, the whole point was for it to go out.
So, am I missing something? Was that the difference?
No, it wasn't the difference. He wasn't gonna. Well,
Like, if
no,
he hit
no,
that
because
home
it
run,
was
he doesn't tie him, right?
no, because they both hit 7 in that first round, but he was still one. He only hit 15 total, and Cal Raleigh hit 18. It was more just that it happened, I think, in
Yeah.
the first round than anything.
That to me was the highlight of the home run
And I
derby.
don't remember if they gave it to him or not, because while it was going on, there was everything happening so fast.
When I was watching, they didn't count it.
Okay.
They
Okay.
didn't count it, so I don't know if they went back. So I'm sure someone watching the show is going to correct us if we got it wrong. But
Oh, I'm saying I don't know. So I don't know. I'm not gonna go back and rewatch just to find out, because honestly, in the grand scheme, this is one of those things where to you it's a non-issue, and for me it's just something where I just think we need to have that uh, awareness. So
he's got a great story to tell to
he
all his
does have
homies.
a he
He
does
has a
have a
great
great
story
story
to
to
tell
tell.
at all his homies at school.
I do like this format better. This is the second year that they're doing it. I like that they have all 8 kind of go up against each other, and then the 4 best go on to the next one. I think they really tweaked it a little bit better and got a better format than what we've seen in previous years.
I defer to you because you are the Mrs. Home Run Derby. You love this,
I love
so
it so
if
it's
this works for you, then this is a success.
yeah, I enjoyed it. I love going and watching it. I'll probably just stay home and watch it next time. But yeah.
That really ruined your experience for you, didn't it?
It did. Just I you know me. I don't like people who talk negatively about players when they're trying their hardest anyway.
And
And
yet
then,
she does a show with me, ladies and gentlemen.
well, within reason, you know. You're the prince of darkness, but it's like I think there's a difference. You are not actively being mean to these players, and I feel like that's sometimes what happens, and that's what I just don't like, cuz I don't understand, why are you watching this game if if you're solely using it just to bet. I will never understand that. I get it. People love doing that. It heightens the game for them. I will not understand it, but I also don't understand being mean to these players about it because of choices that you're making.
I'll tell you this, Amy, from now on, if someone is riding another player, I think the first thing I'm going to go to is that person has money on this game.
Well, no, I'm not going to make assumptions, but if they prove me right by being very loud about why they're being mean to players, I'm not going to be shocked.
Yeah, maybe that's a better way of phrasing it. Anything else on the home run derby?
No, other than I felt bad for all those people there. It was 85 degrees. So not only the people in the stands, but just those players having to crush, trying to hit all those home runs, and it's that hot, and it's Atlanta, so it was humid too. Oh,
And I wonder what the humidity was like
no.
because
Oh,
that was 85. I don't think even counting humidity. So
no. No. I'm good. I,
let's talk about the All Star game. The National League finally won in a very
this is the second time in 12 years.
They finally won. I mean, I in the All Star game, I always root for the National League. I have issues with the fact that the National League blew a 6-run lead, and it ended up, being for the first time ending on a swing off. And so,
That was
Amy,
amazing.
okay, so this is everything I heard of. Okay, okay, before we
Only only because it was the All-Star game. That's because it's an exhibition.
Clayton Kershaw faced 2 hitters and he 6 pitches. He did great. He had his moment.
He was
Shohei,
mic'd up.
yeah, Shohei, yeah. Did you hear what he said today?
No.
That a bunch of his old players that he used to play with started reaching out to him saying, "You've changed, man," because he was saying he first of all he would never do that in a regular season game. He would never
100%.
do that. But
Nor
that
should
was
he, because I hate mic'd up players. I enjoy it only for the All-Star game.
Yeah, he said he actually thought it was fun and that was just something that he never saw himself doing, was, getting interviewed as the game went on. So
Maybe as he's, like, nearing the end of his career, he's just he's, like, holding on to everything, maybe looking at
yeah,
it in a
I
different perspective.
I think you're right. I think that's exactly what's happening. But
Especially because Tarek Skubal and Cal Raleigh were mic'd up during that first inning, and you could tell they were just working. They were trying to work. Like, the announcer, Joe Davis and John Schmaltz, were trying to, like, get them to talk. I think the thought was that they would have been engaging more as they were doing it, and they were just focused on trying to play this game. And so as they were asking them questions, it was just like, "Oh god, I know you have a job to do, but stop trying to make fetch happen. Like, these guys are not going to talk." And then you get Kershaw, who is enjoying being that legacy pick, and he's in there. Like, I thought it was funny when he's like, "Oh, I got to see what Will wants me to throw," and he's like, "Oh, curveball. All right, fine." Like you saw his personality show through, and I thought of you because of how you look at him. But then when he's like, "All right, Smoltzy, like, what do you want me to throw?" And he's like, "The cutter." And he's like, "I don't throw a cutter, son of a." And it's just like it was lighthearted and fun, and it's everything that I don't mind when you're miking up players for an exhibition game, and everything I would hate if it was an actual game.
yeah, um, uh, I woke up this morning, and the majority of the messages that I got, Amy, were people were really excited about that All-Star game. They really enjoyed it. They thought it was exciting, but there's a part of me that feels that they only feel this way because of the swing off, because of the ending. Am I wrong there?
I can't speak for everybody else. I enjoyed it for a multitude of reasons. One, they brought in the ABS challenge system. I enjoyed that. I loved that they brought the old uniform, like, policy back where everybody was just in their own team uniform. So I knew where PCA was from. I could tell, like, I know where these players are from, but it's easier to see on the field than when they were wearing those, like, hideous NL AL jerseys that they wore at the home run derby. But, like, having their uniforms back, miking up the players and getting to hear, like, the interplay, and then having that swing off. I think it was all of it together, because I have not enjoyed an All-Star game in a long time. I enjoyed the one yesterday, minus the tied game right at the end, but it did lead us to that swing off.
I think that's what it is, Amy. That I don't think I've heard people actually say that they've enjoyed the All-Star game. So when you say this is the first All-Star game you've enjoyed in who knows how long, that's really what I've heard. And so to me, I'm trying to understand, okay, what was so different about this All-Star game that you guys, because what I thought was so terribly sad was by the end in the swing off, it felt like there was nobody in the stadium. I'm watching the game and the stadium looked completely empty. Even my wife was like, "Wait, do people go to this game?" I said, "Yeah, yeah, it's a good butt. It's almost, midnight in Atlanta right now. You factor in it's 85 degrees." But I was just like, for me, it just seemed, I think it was a combination of the swing off and people, first of all, not knowing, wait, this is how it ends. Like poor Stowers of the Marlins, when Dave Roberts is getting interviewed and he all of a sudden says, Stowers is just hearing this for the very first time, but he's leading off.
Hmm.
So it just seemed like there was this whole element of, what are we doing? What's going on? But
It made it fun. It wasn't, and it I liked that because this was newer and we didn't know it was going to end that way. I mean, obviously it's been in the rules. Like, I believe we heard about it before. Maybe I'm mistaken, but the fact that, like, there were people complaining, like, you should make the Shohei Otanis and the Freddie Freemans and everybody, they need to stick around for the game so that they can be in the swing off. Much like the home run derby, I liked that it was other players that were doing it. Like, to me, Rosarena and Schwarber were the biggest names, and Alonso, but he didn't get to hit. Those were the bigger names. The other three, like Rooker, Stowers, and Aranda, like,
yeah,
I didn't know much about them. So, like, just getting, even the fact that he did make Stowers go out there and do it after he had just had an at bat, and it was like, good for him. He doesn't have time to, like, panic about it. Like, he's just got to go do it. And I mean, he still hit a home run.
that to me is, so for me, from the last classic, and I'm a big supporter of the baseball classic. I love it. For me, the moment that stands out was you had Otani versus Mike Trout in the championship game. The same reason when I asked you about the home run derby and wouldn't it be great if you had the big names, if you had Aaron Judge, if you had Ohtani both completing in it. How big of a moment would it have been if Ohtani and Aaron Judge were the ones in the swing off? And not only that, that it came down to those two. They would have been in the three spot. Yes, it worked out great. I looked at my wife anyways when Schwarber went up, and I said he's going to hit 3 home runs because all Schwarber does, in my book, is hit home runs. It
That
seems like
was amazing.
yeah. So, yeah. So it looks like the All Star game was a success. You liked how the home run derby changes that they made to it, this aspect, and I know Courtney Turner was trying to give Justin Turner a lot of
Mhm.
credit for,
I have
you
that
know,
note as well. And Justin Turner retweeted it and was like, huh, it sounds like, somebody said this before.
look, anything that anything that generates a positive response to baseball, I think is a win. So.
I
Uh,
think I think the only thing missing, and I think maybe that's why I like the All-Star game so much, was getting to see the players interact. But I feel like, and maybe this is just different perception from years past, but I feel like these guys, all of these guys in the MLB right now, like they really appreciate each other. Not to say that previous years didn't do that, but just the way they all talked about each other when they were on the field, getting interviewed, seeing the interplay between them. Like I like seeing that. Like seeing Paul Skeens pitching to, the guy on the other side. You've got Will Smith catching. Like, when are they ever going to get to do this? Because some of these people are going to be lifers on their teams. You you're never going to see Will Smith get to catch for Paul Skeens unless it's in a game like this, or Cal Raleigh catching for, whoever, Tarek Skubal. It just getting to see them all interact with each other, be excited. I wish they would release more footage of that because that's kind of what I want to see. These guys they're so regional, stuck to their team most of the other time. This was the time to see them all interact.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Did you see the footage of Otani going up to Padres pitcher Robert Suarez and pretending that his shoulder was still in pain?
No, I did not.
He went up and he was like, "Oh God, oh my shoulder, oh." And Robert Suarez was laughing with him. He was with a couple other Padres. They dapped each other up and laughed and hugged, and so it was just nice to see the playfulness that we can still joke around even if there is a little bit of like tension during some of those series. I'll have to send you the clip.
Anything else you want to add to the for the All Star game and the All Star break?
Did the other thing was there were a lot of interviews. So the Dodgers, if you guys haven't seen it, posted up on social media things like who orders the most expensive thing on the team bill. One of the ones was which players would switch players with another. And Kershaw said Yoshinobu, he'd like to go to Japan and experience all of that. Yoshinobu said Otani, but you had Otani saying Mookie because he'd like to try bowling. And
Uh-oh.
right? And then Freddie saying, you know what, I don't want to be Shohei because he deals with a lot. And then he's like, you know what, no, I would want to be Shohei. I want to see what it's like. And then Doc with his basically kind of high standards of like, I don't want to be anybody who has kids because I don't want to chase them around. I don't want to be Shohei Otani because I like to go outside. And he's like, you know what, Glaz now has it together. Like he gets to go to Africa. He's engaged. He can go out. He's like, I'd want to be Glaz now. So it was just interesting to see all of their personalities shine through.
And the person who I did see a lot of this, who would have the most expensive meal, was Federico Freeman. I think unanimously was voted,
Mhm.
and primarily because it seems Federico is an avid wine drinker, and he
Yes, he
likes
likes
to drink the
expensive wines.
expensive wine. And when they asked him about it, is like he likes the good things in life. Is what Federico says.
And good for him. He's earned it.
He has expensive taste. Anything else you want to add about the All Star game?
No, I feel like this one was a good one. I haven't been able to say that in a long time, and this one was a good one.
Okay, last thing before we wrap things up. It is All Star related. I want to get your opinion on this. You mentioned him earlier, and that was the Cerveceros pitcher Jacob Mezorowski was
Mhm.
a late addition to the All Star game, and the Phillies of Philadelphia seem to have a big problem with it. in particular because their pitcher Christopher Sanchez was omitted from a an All-Star selection, and this is a big deal. This is part of the don't mess with my money type thing. If he would have made the All-Star game, he would have was entitled to a bonus in his contract. And what the
Hmm.
Phillies decided to do was they were going to still honor that bonus and give it to him, even though he did not get named to the All-Star game. The Phillies were very critical, calling it a joke that he wasn't named to the All-Star game. So, two questions to you, Amie. One, what do you think of a guy like Jacob Mizorowski, who has only had 5-6 starts, but has been pretty impressive in those 5-6 starts, getting named to an All-Star game? And what do you think about the Phillies doing what they did with Christopher Sanchez and giving him his bonus?
I'm gonna flop it and start with the second one first. First of all, I think that's classy. I'm glad that they gave him the bonus. But also, isn't it based off of a player and a fan vote? So like
Well, the starters, but the reserves were the players voting. So I get where you're coming from. I think that's fair. So to put it all on Major League Baseball, I
that,
don't
that
know if
to,
that's fair.
so to that I would say then they need to have a rule change on how they get this in because you've already mentioned the popularity contest before. If
Right.
people don't like that, take the fan vote out. Take the like find a better way to do it because I understand that they're upset and they want him to go, but this is the system that they have. So then change the system. Use this as a catalyst to change the system. As far as Mizorowski, I think Paul Skeens he only had a handful of starts last year, not 5. I think he had like 11 by that point, so maybe double. But I think I heard his manager's argument for it was, this is for fun, this is for entertainment, and this is one of the people because of the start of the season that he's had that people actually want to see. So to deny him going if he got voted in when people want to see him, like you're doing that based off of what? Like because he has had a phenomenal start. I mean, his first game I think was like 5 shutout innings. He went into a perfect game for I think almost 7 innings into the second one. Like he's had an amazing start. It was interesting to see him. I think they just need to change how they get players in there then so that some of these players don't feel like they're being penalized or snubbed.
I agree with you 100% on both. I have no problem with Mizorowski being named to the All-Star game. This is an exhibition for the fans. You want to see the most exciting players. You want to see the players that do something special. And this kid has looked very special so far to start his career. And I also, yes, I agree with you 100%. I applaud what the Phillies of Philadelphia did for Christopher Sanchez. I'm all for people getting paid. Get your
Mhm.
money, Christopher, and good job to the Phillies. So
Mhm.
that's going to do it for this episode. Amie, anything else? Any last words?
Yeah, Kike Hernandez, whether he's playing or not, is going to have his bobblehead night on August 31st. That just got announced. So plan accordingly, people.
There you go. Go get your toys, everybody. I'm sure it's going to be a very big crowd that is going to go get their toys. All right. So that's going to.
Last year he had the biggest, I think, sellout was his bobblehead night. So
So far this year, who was the biggest? I thought it was a surprise, right? It was kind of unexpected.
for his bobblehead,
Yeah, for
or
bobblehead. Which bobblehead was the most
ah,
attended game?
I
I
forget.
think
It
it was
was. It
the Ice
wasn't.
Cube. Wasn't it the Ice Cube?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't. It wasn't something you thought it would be, but I believe last year Kike had the record attendance for his bobblehead night. So it's people are gonna have fun.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do some research to compare the Ice Cube numbers to the Geekhead numbers and see how that works out.
Well,
And if
I keep those numbers for every game.
that's right, nerd alert.
Hmm.
All right, anything else, Amy?
No, that's it.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode. If you've been listening to us on the audio portion of the show, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, rate us, write us a review, help spread the word about the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, hit that notification button, give us a thumbs up, leave us comments. We love engaging with you. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Blue Sky at Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amie Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. Nos despedimos con un beso. Amie, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.